Now, you're probably familiar with the saying that people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. But what you probably haven't heard and not familiar with is what Carrie Lynn Cooper, Professor of Organisational Psychology and Health at the Manchester School of Business, said about UK managers. And brace yourself. According to Sir Carey, most UK managers are not fit for purpose. Now, is it true? Is there any evidence to support this assertion? And if it is true, what are CEOs, directors, and the board and employers doing about it to address this? And what are the signs and symptoms, i.e., red flags, which indicate that there's a serious problem with your leadership team? And if it's not addressed immediately and urgently, it's going to affect productivity and people morale. Now, let's look at some facts. And within the UK, you'd be surprised that 73% of respondents have stated that they have experienced poor management. That's 7 out of 10 people in the UK alone have expressed that they've experienced poor management. Now, the question is that acceptable? Secondly, nearly a third of the employees, UK employees, listed their manager as their work enemy. Now, what does that mean? Basically, that means that they felt and feel that we'd be doing a much better job if it wasn't for our manager. And yes, poor managers, poor leaders will suppress creativity, innovation, and will push back on ideas, sometimes due to their incompetency, and sometimes because they may feel a bit threatened by one of their subordinates. And 55% of respondents in the UK have said that they left their job because of bad management. So why am I doing this? And why am I discussing this topic? Well, my name is Mohammed Arif, and I've been leading highly successful teams within the UK pharmaceutical industry for over 20 years. And when I say successful, I'm talking about teams that were consistently in the top 5 to 10% of performance bracket in the company. In addition to that, I have 10 years experience as a senior leader, and I've been part of senior leadership teams, and 3 years as a union representative. And I also volunteered to be the employee engagement lead with 2 multinationals. And the reason for sharing this with you is to impress on you that I not only have first-hand experience of how management and leadership appointments are made, but because of my various roles within the union as an employee representative, I was often a point of contact for employee support when the company was unable to or unwilling to address genuine grievances. So in this video, I'll be sharing some of the key indicators of poor leadership for employers and employees to be aware of. One of the first things you will notice a team that is led by a poor leader, a bad manager, is low team morale. When you walk into the room, the levels of energy will be low. There'll be a placid atmosphere. People will be going through the motions, and they'll be saying things that the manager wants to hear rather than what they really feel and think. And this doesn't happen by coincidence. And some of the underlying causes for this behavior could well be, and this is the biggest one by far, which cuts across every aspect, is honesty and transparency. Now, if the manager is not open and honest with their team, or worse still, are dishonest with their team, then that will be the end of the trust between the team and the manager. The other factors that impact on team morale is when their objectives and success criteria is unclear. You don't know what you're aiming for, and you don't know what success will look like. So in other words, you're aiming for nothing and everything at the same time. The other element that impacts on team morale is managers that just can't let go, the micromanagers. They are more focused on the employee's job rather than their own, which also will impact on morale. And inconsistency in employee treatment, where you've got favorites and outcasts, will impact on the overall team morale. It'll cause resentment. And a team where you've got high workload, which would mean poor work-life balance, that will affect the energy levels and morale. And of course, if you're constantly receiving negative feedback and criticism from your manager, that's not going to do wonders for your team morale. The other very critical element that you will notice a team that is managed by a poor leader is low employee engagement. And that is engagement with the company mission and the company goal. The late Jack Welch, who was the CEO of General Electric, said that no company, whether it's small or large, can win over in the long run without energized employees who believe in the mission and understand how to achieve it. And Gallup have done a lot of work on this and on employee engagement. And in their surveys, they found that only 30% of the American workforce is actively engaged with the company mission, whereas 70% are neither engaged or disengaged. And then you've got a small percentage that are actively disengaged, i.e., they are basically working against the best interest of the company. And one manifestation of that could well be that when you're interested in applying for a job with the company and you speak to one of their employees or a former employee and they tell you, for goodness sake, if you've got another option on the table, take it. You don't want to be going there. And that is what active disengagement looks like. And Gallup also concluded that in 7 out of 10 cases, the level of employee engagement is directly linked to their line manager. Great line managers will invariably have high employee engagement. So the common causes for this lack of engagement, it doesn't just happen coincidentally and organically. There are reasons behind it. And one of the key things that affects employee engagement is when the employee contributions are not appreciated. The employee is unclear of their value of their job and how they're contributing towards the organization's goal and mission. And one of the biggest things that will impact on employee engagement will be when they give feedback, which is often a plea for change. It not only falls on deaf ears, but the manager sees that as a personal criticism of their leadership. As well as low morale, low employee engagement, you will notice teams under poor managers will have high absence from work due to sickness. And Jeffrey Pfeffer, he's a professor of organizational behavior at Stanford Graduate School of Business, said that negative workplaces have a detrimental impact on employee health. And you might think that this is obvious, but there's sound data to back this up. And according to research published in The Guardian only last year in 2023, they noted that last year in 2023, number of people taking sick leave was the highest in a decade. And 76%, vast majority, was down to work-related stress was given as the primary reason. And again, what causes this? Well, if you've got a toxic environment in a team, it's going to impact on employee health. If you've got a culture of bullying and harassment in a team, it's going to affect people's health. And if they're working long hours because the manager is unable to provide clarity and direction as to what's important, and everything is a priority and everything needs to be done by yesterday, that will have an impact on people's health. And it shouldn't come as a surprise when you have this kind of environment, you'll have increased resignations. People will leave. 79% of respondents said in one survey that they left their jobs, which were, they actually enjoyed the job, but it's because of bad management they left. And the consequence for the organization is this, that you're losing talent. You're losing good people and sometimes to the competitors. And then you've got this endless cycle of recruitment, training, validation. And if you're in a customer facing organization, then you're losing consistency and relationship with customers. And of course, there's going to be a revenue impact whilst the new employee finds their feet. And if you can put all of this together, what does that mean for the company? Well, it basically means that you can have low productivity. These things don't happen overnight. It'll be prolonged impact on productivity because from a point of low morale to resignation could take 2 to 3 years. And throughout that time, the team is operating suboptimally. So which means that there's an impact on business over a prolonged period of time. And all of this is happening. Why? It's happening because of poor leadership. This is why employers really should think long and hard before appointing someone into a leadership role. Now, I've shared with you my insights and how poor leadership impacts on productivity and people. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your experiences about, especially concerning some of the poorest managers or the worst managers that you've ever worked for. And if you're currently working for a poor manager, then definitely get in touch, because together we might be able to have a strategy to manage your manager. And in the next video, I'll share with you my